In the last section, we spoke a little bit about the different route configuration that we'll have for each of our different screens in our application. I want to take this time now to start working on our first screen. So we're going to create a post index component and associate it with the root route of our application. For right now, the post index component that we're going to make is just going to contain a little bit of boilerplate, so we're not going to put any special configuration or JSX inside of there just yet. We're going to take care of the routing first and then come back to that side of things. So let's get to it. Inside of my code editor, I'm going to find my components directory, and I'm going to make a new file in there to house my post index component. So I'll say post index.js as a new file. And then inside of here, we'll import React in the component class, create our component, and then export it. So import React and component from React. We'll then create our post index component, which is going to extend the component class. And then again, for right now, we don't really need any special implementation. I just want to return something that lets me know that this component is showing up on the screen. So how about a div that says post index, like so. Then at the bottom of the file, we can export default post index. Okay, so that looks like something that we can at least get started with for now. I'm going to close this file out now, and we're going to go back to the index.js file. Now, before we actually import that post index component, I want to do a little bit of cleanup inside of this file. So I want to clean up some of the test code that we added in the previous section. I'm going to start by cleaning up the two test components that we created inside of here, which is the hello and goodbye components. So let's take care of both of those. Then inside of the browser router tag, I'm going to find that div, here it is right here, and I'm going to delete the hard-coded header text and the two existing routes that we have. So let's take those out like so. Now, one last piece of wrap up, or cleanup I should say, that I want to do inside of here. You'll notice that we're still importing this app component. So in the past, we used the app component as the sort of wrapper or main location of bootstrapping or starting up our application. Now that we have React Router, we don't really have any central single component going on. So I don't really need this app component anymore. So I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup by removing the import to statement for it. And then I'm also going to delete the app.js file. So I'm going to delete that as well. Okay, so that looks good. So now we can start by importing the post index component, and I'll place that import statement right underneath the import statement of our reducers. So we'll say import post index from components / post index. Okay, so now here comes the hard part, at least as far as React Router is concerned. We want to associate the post index component with the / path in our application. So to do so, we're going to start off by defining a route. I'll say whenever a user goes to the path of just / by itself, just / I want to show the component post index. And I'll close the tag off at the end as well. Okay, so this looks like a good start, at least something we can test out inside the browser and make sure that we are able to navigate to the root route of our application and see this component appear on the screen. Now, before we go any further, before we do anything else, I want to tell you that the way that we're putting together our routing right now is going to introduce a very subtle, very small little bug. Okay, so I know it's really frustrating when I show you something that's like not the way to do it, right? Because then you're sitting there like, well, what's the right way? What's the wrong way? The reason that I'm going to let this bug kind of display itself or appear in a later section is that this is something that I guarantee you're going to run into yourself the first time you use React Router. And so I want to walk through this very common mistake that everyone runs into when they first use React Router. Okay, so again, I want to tell you something that we're doing here is just very, very slightly off, but we're going to fix it in a later section once it becomes apparent what that problem is. And just to kind of cut to the chase here, it's really just one additional word that we're going to provide as a prop to this route component right here. So it's going to be a very small change, but again, I really want to just very naturally run into this problem so that you know what to do when you see it on your own application. Okay, so with that little caveat or disclaimer out of the way, let's flip back to the browser and test this thing out. So let's go back to browser. I'm going to refresh the page. You'll notice that I'm on localhost 8080 right now. And so if we're at just 8080 by itself, React Router interprets this as being really localhost 8080/. And so the only route character that's in there is / right now. And so that matches up correctly against the post index component. Okay, so it looks like we're at least off to a good start for putting together our first route inside of our application. We're going to kind of pause on React Router for now, and we're going to work on the post index page and make sure that we wire up the Redux side of things correctly from here on out. So we're going to take a little bit of break on the React Router side. We're going to take care of some of the data fetching stuff, and then we're going to come back and finish up some of the other route definitions inside of this file right here. So I'll see you in the next section where we're going to start doing a little bit more work on the post index component.